Hi guys, welcome to today's video and thanks for making time to watch this video. So what I bring to you today is how to use the where conditional clause and also the having conditional clause in the same query. Now, the usage of these two in tandem, it's usually incumbent on what kind of task that you are presented with. So for instance, if you are presented with say a task, let's say extract a list of employee names and counted less than 150 times, and these employees should be, employed after the 1st January 1999. Now, when we look at this task, we can divide it into two. The first part being the extraction of names which are appearing more than less than 150 times, and the second part being this, where these employees must be employed after 1999. So let's go straight and see how we can generate the script by using the having and the where conditional clauses. So reminding you, we are still on our funny fancy ink database and we are going to use our employees table here. So I go straight and say I'm selecting, since the tax said names, we can choose either first names or last names, but I want to choose last name. So we can say we're selecting, sorry, last name, and here we can see that there is 150 times here. That means we have to do a count, which is an aggregate function. So we say we're counting the last names from what table? Employees. Now this is where we have to decide whether we are using the having with the count of 150 times, or the where with the date, the high date being after 1st January. And based on my previous videos, the answer is clear, because the having conditional clause is always used with aggregate functions, whilst the where conditional clause is used with non-aggregate functions. Not barring the fact that you can sometimes also use the having condition with non-aggregated fields or non-aggregated functions. So now let's go straight to the point. So we say where this will be linked to the where conditional clause. So that is our high date. So where high date is greater than, let me copy this, copy, paste. So 1999, and having will be linked to the count last name. Having count last name, copy, paste, being less than 150. So this is what we have to do. But a reminder here, I did a video on the group by clause, and we also said that whenever we use aggregate functions, we shouldn't forget about the group by clause, because this is a function, this is a clause that always moves with aggregate functions, and the positioning should always be between the where conditional clause and also the having conditional clause. So the group by will be placed here. We're going to group by last name, and intuitively we are supposed to be done with this code, but we could refine the code by adding an order by clause so that we take care of our sorting. Or we can move on and say we ordering by, excuse me, we ordering by count last name, or even the last name. We can order by last name, copy, paste, and then we have to bring in an alias here to make this show professionally on the table that we retrieve. So we can say as name count, and then we end with a semicolon. Let's Control V to clean this up. So this is the for this particular task. This is the query we generated for it, and then we're going to execute to see the outcome. Good. So now we have a 976 rows by a 2-column table where we are ordering on the last name um in ascending order. If we change this to descending order, it's going to start from a Z or any alphabet below the ladder. Control B, enter. Yeah, and we have a Z here. And these are the names that I encountered less than 150 times. Good. All right. So now let's take note of something. In my video on the having clause, I also made mention that we could sometimes use the having clause, the having conditional clause with non-aggregated conditions, because sometimes the having conditional clause serves the same purpose as the where conditional clause. Now let's try to cut this here and paste it here using a where, using an end. So what am I doing here? What I'm doing is I'm just trying to ascertain whether if I use the having conditional clause with a condition that has to do with an aggregate function, and at the same time a condition that has nothing to do with an aggregate function, and see the outcome. When we do this, we have an error code 1054, which tells us that there's an unknown column high date in the having date clause. What it's trying to tell us is that whenever we are using the having conditional clause, irrespective of the fact that the having conditional clause can be used with a condition that is not an aggregated function, an aggregated function cannot be used together with an aggregated condition cannot be used together with a non-aggregated condition when using the having clause, the having conditional clause. So basically that's the notion here. So let me just Control Z so we can go back to where we were. So this is our actual code that we generated for this whole um, text, this whole task here, and basically this is how you can use the where conditional clause and the having conditional clause together without facing any forms of problems. And I believe this video is going to help you along your lines of data retrieval and data extraction. And thanks very much for making time to watch this. And until we meet again, it's a bye bye.